Leeds United know from first-hand experience that there are plenty of ways of picking up a lot of value from clubs that are in the EFL when it comes to signing players for relative bargains. So have a look at the way that we sold Rutter, Archie Gray, Crescencio Somerville for what was potentially less than their market value. All reasonably good Premier League players at this point, and let's be honest, you can pick up some damn good bargains in the EFL. With Leeds United having a rumoured budget of £120 million this summer in the event that we stay in the Premier League, the club are likely to be looking at the EFL for a couple of players to pick up, especially for those sort of highly valuable but undervalued players, if that makes sense. Sort of underpriced, highly valued footballers. And there are two players that Leeds have been specifically linked with over the past few days, so I'm going to have a quick dive through those, what that means for us, and ultimately where we're going to end up, and if Leeds are likely to sort of spread their money like we did last summer, or invest really hard in some very, very clear quality players, and whether these two players are actually right for Leeds in the first place. And first off, I'm going to start with a player that has been rumoured repeatedly for quite some time. I've not really covered him until now because the rumours have been sort of like the quiet backstage kind of like, oh, there's been a little bit of a whispery kind of vibe. But it sort of evolved beyond that, and this is around Hayden Hackney, who currently plays for Middlesbrough, 23 years of age, and he is a genuinely very impressive player. He plays in midfield, he's a sort of reasonably attacking player. He's got himself 5 goals and 6 assists so far this season in a good few appearances, and for a 23-year-old getting that many appearances in the Championship is a damn good sign of your quality. And it's not just Leeds that are tracking him so far, it is Everton, it is Man United, it is Spurs, it is Leeds. And you know that when so many different sides are looking at a player, there's very, very likely to be something there. In this instance, it is a young player that is very effective in the pass, can contribute to both the attacking and defensive side of a game, and will ultimately cause a hell of a lot of problems for teams that play against him. Looks like a move is potentially going to be on the cards for him because he's only got 12 months left on his deal. However, there's a little bit of a complication in that Middlesbrough are sort of expected to get promoted at this point. If I have a very, very quick look at the Championship table, if I can get on the right page. Or I could just be a little bit daft and open up the wrong thing. There we go. In the EFL Championship right now, Middlesbrough are currently second place. Game in hand over Millwall, who are a single point behind them on 68. Borough hanging out on 69. They're looking to get promoted, and it's a very, very feasible thing for them this summer, which means that they're not going to be forced to sell. They're going to have a lot of money sort of flowing in, but they could be tempted to sell anyway, in the same way that Sunderland sold on Joe Bellingham. Gives you a lot more of an opportunity to spend when you come up because it opens up a vast amount of PSR space. Not sure how that's going to work with the, is it squad cost regulation, whatever it's called next, which is like 85% of your revenues you get to spend, but that's over an extended period of time, which means that again, selling on a big asset like this would open up a wide range of spending opportunities. Estimated cost is something like 30 million quid, and with 12 months left on his deal, it feels like if someone puts in a big enough offer for him, it would be sort of daft for them to say no, because he's not guaranteed to have a long-term future. If they can sell him at that point for a hell of a lot of cash, they can contribute a lot more to staying up than they would if they were to keep him around and then lose him for free 12 months later. That's just one of the players that Leeds are reportedly looking at, though, with the other being a club that you wouldn't quite expect, because I'll be honest, I didn't expect this club to be where they are this season to begin with, and that is Millwall. 37 matches into a Premier League season. Premier League? Championship. That one. 37 matches into a Championship season. You wouldn't expect Millwall to be in the position that they are. Third place at the moment, very, very clearly pushing for promotion, ahead of Ipswich in what is a very, very weird set of teams in the playoffs. It's Millwall, Ipswich, Hull and Wrexham at the minute. And you're looking at that and you're thinking, I've got no idea what's going on in the Championship right now. And same. But players like Femi Aziz are sort of bringing themselves out of the woodwork and stamping their authority on the division, providing genuinely fantastic results and helping their sides to land where they need to land. So, Femi Aziz plays for Millwall, is 24 years of age, and can play effectively anywhere across that front line. He can be a left winger, he can be a right winger, he can be a number 10, maybe a number 9, I don't know. But so far, his attacking returns are genuinely very, very solid. 25 appearances so far this season, 8 goals, 7 assists. No one's going to complain about that in the slightest as potential signings go. When it comes to whether or not other sides have an interest in him as well, he's reportedly also tracked by Everton, by Brentford, by Brighton, by Fulham, by Sunderland, and by us. That's a lot of sides that have very, very solid departments for scouting. 1 second, I'm just going to have a very quick check of something because I forgot to check it. But Brighton, everyone knows that Brighton have a very good scouting department. Sunderland have impressed a hell of a lot of people last year when they managed to sign a lot of very, very, very good players. Brentford, renowned for their scouting. We're in a very, very weird spot here where we're amongst these top tier sort of scouting gangs, and that for me is very telling of a lot of quality in a player. It says that maybe we're looking in the right kind of places, which is always a good thing to see. In addition to that, it looks like Femi Aziz wouldn't be the most expensive of signings from a wage perspective. He's currently on £7,000 a week, which is not a lot of cash, and his contract ends in 2028, so it's 2 years left. If they're looking to sell him at any point, so say if they don't go up this season, like Leeds didn't when we lost Ruter, Somerville, Gray, and the gang, then they're going to potentially want to make a little bit of money so they can push for the playoffs the season afterwards. Aziz is going to start losing value when he gets below 2 years left on his contract. It's a good time for them to potentially go, okay, Aziz will move you on, we'll get some people in. Not going to cost too much on wages, wouldn't cost too much on fee, nowhere near the 30 million that we're looking at for Hayden Hackney. Not a bad move, to be completely honest with you, but at the end of the day, I think that's potentially the more likely of the two, mainly because Hayden Hackney doesn't fit the way that we approach transfers. Because Leeds United, under the 49ers, don't really go, let's throw all of our cash into one target. A quarter of our budget would have to go into Hayden Hackney, maybe more if it turns into a little bit of a bidding war. And what we tend to do is we tend to space the money out a little bit to make sure that in every single position we are reasonably strong, rather than in one position we're ridiculously good. Because there's an argument that the season that we didn't go down under Jesse Marsh, the reason that we didn't is because of Rafinha. And you would argue that, well, if you're to pump enough money into one position, then maybe they can keep you up. That's not reliable. Which is why I'm glad that we tend to spread things around a little bit more. And that makes Aziz the more likely signing. But all of this is reliant on our survival, and the strategy that would lead to that survival in the first place focuses on that sort of dispersion of spending, which I think makes a lot of sense. It would be a very, very, very genuine show of ambition to sign a Hayden Hackney or someone that is of a reasonably big profile and a lot of promise like that. But we'll have to see how it goes, I suppose. Yeah, hopefully those two options are better than Mr. Spunky Goodnight, as we discussed in yesterday's video. Check that one out if you haven't yet. Pop a like on this one as well, be massively appreciated. Comment if you haven't, subscribe and all that stuff. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you later. Doodle.